Let us, my friends, talk about the Nautilus. This is a funny ship. This is a funny ship to me because for those of you who are around for the release of this thing, well, we'll get to that. Or not the release, I'm sorry. The announcement of this ship was quite controversial. In fact, I got to see if I can find that announcement. But first, why we're talking about this, John Crew commented on a thread posted on Reddit. Now, this thread comes because of news that was shared from the bar citizen that took place in China. Now, we don't have the official feed of that, so we don't have the official words, which is why this happened. It was a misunderstanding in translation, and he's clarifying here. That's the comment we're about to read, but this is why I haven't covered it yet on the channel. I just want to wait until the official one is released, just like every other Invictus week, I guess. This happens every Invictus week. We literally have one of these pulled up right here. You can see it's not live. It's the Invictus Week Q&A. It was released May 27th. This is how they always do it. It's just that this week they did it live for China first, for reasons I'm sure you can put together yourself. Now, what he said here was, I think that my comments have been translated incorrectly. What I said was that the Nautilus requires gameplay and features, and as we're focusing on quality of life currently, that means it is not in production at this time. When it goes into production, like the other ships, it will have an updated concept pass to bring it in line with the current standards. Hope that clears things up. I bet that's going to be a very interesting concept pass. Because yeah, I bet like the idea of a Minelayer, we're going to get into this, but this is a mine-laying ship. And the idea of that in this game probably sounds pretty weird to a lot of people. So we'll talk a little bit about why that is a possibility. I've got the ISC here where they introduce it. I also have the full brochure that they had when they released it at the event where it was released, which we will talk about here in a moment. And a lot of the info that came from that release. This is a very, yeah, there was a lot of information there. So we'll get around to all that. But first, I want to see if I can find the event. Here it is. Found it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so there's some articles on it. This was very funny. Not gonna lie. This was rough. And these are the kinds of things CIG used to do a lot worse than they do now. Like, if you see how CIG kind of has their little blusters now, trust me, they used to be so much more painful. Basically, they revealed this ship at, dude, I wish I could just get like the actual freaking source for this stuff. They revealed the ship at an event that was only able to be gone to for $275. Now, it was an event that had a lot of stuff there. You could obviously meet a lot of people. You got a full dinner. It was a nice dinner too. Like, you got treated. It wasn't so much that people weren't getting what they paid for. It was more so that they just like revealed the ship there and everybody else had to get the information through posts like this or through actual photos of the brochure like this. Like this isn't the files of the brochure. These are the photos somebody uploaded to the internet. So that was just another example of CIG doing things. But yeah, we'll go over the info and see how this could actually fit in with some mining gameplay. At least the mini game was really fun. It was a good game they released with it. Just not the game we wanted. Star Citizen. So, information-wise, let's see if there's anything about how these mines would work. The ship can hold 24 mines, deploying a minefield of 24 mines with a DPS each of a size 5 torpedo. It does not tell us about how the mines work. Let's see. So this is mostly about the ship itself, actually. It's got a size 7 gun, at least when they first concepted it. Sorry. Couple computers, large shields, 3 times size 3 shields, 2 times size 3 power plants, 64 space of cargo. Mines will not work near planets and moons due to gravity pulling them down. Mines slow down by themselves if released while moving. Mines have signatures like ships. So one of the things that's, I think, important to know with this ship is that the mines aren't just explosives. They're turrets. So like, you can lay these mines And it's an area of effect kind of thing. If you put, I mean, if you have an asteroid facility and you know that people are going to come attack it, you don't have to just depend on the turrets that are on the asteroid facility. You could drop 10 of these outside. Yeah, so the mines are also self-propelled. I was looking for that info. I thought it was official. The Tephra homing mine is a mine that once within range will move towards the target and detonate. So again, another area of effect. Basically, the size 5 torpedo establishes a defensive perimeter and just goes to the ship that it can see. A sentry mine is a mine fitted with weapons that will fire on hostile targets within range. The Nemo drone is a drone specifically designed for the task of identifying, deactivating, and collecting deployed mines. So the gameplay consists of both deploying these mines, but also using your ship to pick them back up, to disable them, to repurpose them, to steal them from somebody else. Obviously, there's other things you could probably have EMP mines if they wanted to. Be interesting if you could deploy mines that offer some kind of a buff in some way. Let's take a look though at the actual video where they introduce it and what they have to say about it.
Earlier this week, the Star Citizen community was introduced to the Aegis Nautilus strategic mine layer, the first of its kind ship dedicated to the art of defensive, yet very explosive warfare. What's the player experience going to be like? What do minefields add to the overall Star Citizen experience? Why does it look the way that it does? We posed these questions and more to John and Paul ahead of its recent reveal. Let's find out what they had to say.
The Nautilus brings exciting gameplay to the Star Citizen universe because it's something very traditional for Chris Roberts style games. I think it just adds a lot of extra depth. Our combat gameplay is very offensive based at the moment, so it's a lot of players going out there, hunting down other players, killing other players, and taking their stuff. Whereas there isn't a huge amount for the players that want to involve themselves in combat, but not actually be that sort of either twitch shooter or strategic bomber. They just want to play the longer game, and the Nautilus is the perfect ship for that. So one of the key aspects for mine layers and minesweepers is maintaining their minefields. Minefields offer a great way to add defensive gameplay to Star Citizen. They allow players, whether they're in an org or solo players, to ring fence or protect a sort of strategic asset, whether that's a space station or even just entry methods to certain areas.
We get the design brief from John Crew and his team, and that gives us our basic spec of what we need to hit. Chris likes to keep it as open as possible in terms of implementers for art, so we can just be free basically.
So this is a nice shot because sometimes they'll show this kind of footage and it seems like maybe it's white or gray box or well into the art process of these ships, but really we're just seeing more of their in-depth concept work that they didn't do until around this time in development. That's why a lot of the older ships feel a lot more clunky, because either A, they were made without planning for some of the other future features, and so they had to be redesigned mid-life, like after they were already released to the game, and so they look a little bit different. Other ones just straight up are just not built clearly to fit in with the game. The MSR, I think, is a pretty clear example of that. So this is them, you can see here, like, this allows them to go faster because they concept the ship with the understanding of everything that's going to be in it, rather than before when they would just have a concept artist make the ship in just like a JPEG, and then it'd be like, okay, we'll make the ship based on that, which then you start making the ship and you realize things have to change.
Out of the three, the one that Chris chose and the one that was our favourite, it's got that sort of armoured feeling about it, but then it hits all the beats that we need it to hit. It's got the big S7 gun on it. It's got the silhouette change when all the mine launchers pop out. As a ship, from all angles, it looks really good. The other stuff was interesting, but this one was a clear favourite. When people see it, it's a relatively simple shape. It's essentially a triangle, very Aegis. It's kind of it's like a tech sandwich. You've got the top and the bottom, which are simpler, and then you've got a slice of just heavy tech in the middle.
Aside from the mine laying side of the gameplay, there's the people on the other end of mines. It ties into the whole scanning and exploration side, so these mines are quite hard to detect. So obviously you wouldn't want them to be huge gleaming red beacons of light that you know are there.
Also interesting is what will be the difference? Like, they'll have to figure out ways to put these in scenarios. So I'm thinking there will be old military mines that are blocking off like interesting areas where we can find derelicts and loot, maybe like interesting mineral deposits. Maybe there's like, oh, this pirate faction put a minefield out there, so the minerals, you can't get to them. And like, what would be the difference between taking a Nautilus out there and disarming them versus just shooting them and blowing them up? Would it really be how? I guess they got to make them really expensive because it'd be great loot. I think there's a lot they could do with this. I'm not really sure about PvP wise, which I think is what everybody is thinking when they see this. They're like, oh, this is going to be really, nobody's going to use this for PvP. It's not worth the time. But I do think that PvE applications are going to be really interesting for this ship. I imagine a lot of people don't think it's worth the money in that case. I would say this isn't worth the money for any case. So maybe don't buy it. But I think there could be some really interesting scenarios and missions they make for this that aren't necessarily sandbox focused or aren't necessarily player interaction focused, but who knows what they'll do with it.
Side, so these mines are quite hard to detect. So obviously you wouldn't want them to be huge gleaming red beacons of light that you know are there. They sort of embed themselves into the world quite nicely, and ships that are designed for hunting things down, such as scanners, great, they can find them. If you want to go through a minefield, then the Nautilus itself can do some mine sweeping with its drones, but then other ships equipped with EMP or distortion weapons can temporarily disable them, which helps give other combat ships a way through these areas. And then there's the whole supply chain side. So whilst the Nautilus is best placed to bring more mines and recover those mines, other ships will be able to sort of assist in that functionality as well.
So you could really just, I mean, this could also be really useful for gaining stuff. That's really expensive loot. I imagine mines would sell for a ton of money, depending on where you find them and who you sell them to. But yeah, good point in chat. This could be great for org defenses, just all around good deterrence. But I'm skeptical, and I think everybody has it. Like, nobody is. I wouldn't blame anybody for being skeptical as to whether or not this ship really works, how it's being phrased as working, how it's being sold. There's a lot they still have to prove in terms of large-scale combat in this game. We really don't have large-scale combat still. We have large groups of people in combat, but you don't have engineering. You don't have like a lot of shield maintenance. It's just starting to come around. We're not reloading our ships. We're not using our carriers for certain things, or our missile bombers aren't getting escorted by fighters. Like, there's so far we have to go before I think using large-scale minefields in fleet battles is going to be a regular thing. So that's the Nautilus. The weird story of it, how it released, what's going on with it right now, what it's useful for, what it's not, and our speculation as to whether or not it'll actually meet those things. Who knows? Who knows what happens with this when it releases? But as always, Star Citizen is like very, 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 very far away from what we're playing right now. And our expectations and the way the game plays potentially could just look entirely different by the time the Nautilus comes out. Nobody really cares that much about dying right now. You can't, there's no engineering, once again. You can't even repair your freaking ship outside in the vacuum. So I think it's hard to say whether or not this is going to be a reliably useful ship by the time Star Citizen reaches 1.0. But it's not like it's just Destiny and whatever happens, happens. CIG is actively developing the game. It's their job to take this concept and figuring out how to make it fit into the game. So we'll see what happens with it, but I don't think we'll hear anything at the very least until drones are in the game. Because his comment here is what, that, yeah, it's going to take gameplay and features. Like mines obviously aren't that hard if they're explosive, but the logic behind them, and then also the drones, I think is going to make this thing take a little bit while longer. Anyways, thanks for checking this out. Hope you got the info.